Hello, I'm Margaret the Quilty Lass and welcome back to my channel. I love all things quilting and hope to share with you some ideas, inspiration and motivation. So it's a little while since I last did a video. I missed recording around the Easter time. So this video is going to be a quick catch up of everything that I have made and achieved during March and April. So we've got a lot to cover. So at the end of February, I've been trying to set myself monthly goals and targets for the month ahead. And at the end of February, I set myself two targets. One was to start working on a quilted jacket project that I've decided to do this year. And the other was to take another one of my completed tops and make it all the way through to a completed quilt. So I'm glad to say that in March and April, I have purchased a pattern for my quilted jacket that I'm going to make. And I've had it printed out onto A0 paper. It's absolutely enormous. So I've got that stored in a very big tube at the moment. I still need to cut out the pattern pieces, and then my next stage is going to be to make up a mock-up to check that it fits properly. So the pattern that I purchased is from Sully's Upcycled, and it is their oversized hoodie. So we are making a little bit of progress towards a quilted jacket. I am hoping to have this jacket completed so that I can wear it to the Festival of Quilts at the end of July. So I need to make that a priority to get on with. The other thing I'd hoped to do was to make one of my quilted tops into a full quilt, and I was hoping to do one for Quilts for Care Leavers, but instead I managed to do one for Project Linus. So I'm just going to put it up behind me and we can have a look at it. So here it is behind me. The quilt top that I chose to complete was the plus quilt that's behind me, which I have made for Project Linus. So let's have a closer look. So these blocks were donated to Project Linus from someone who had cut them out on an AccuQuilt cutter, and I was given them by our local coordinator to make into a top. So I've done a plus top. You can see it is 5 squares which are laid out in a plus shape, and then that is scattered throughout the quilt. It's very easy, quick pattern to make. I really like doing plus quilts actually because they're so quick and simple. Once you've got the layout, they're really easy to put together. I've quilted them. Again, this is the wavy stitch setting on my domestic sewing machine. So it's almost like I'm doing straight line quilting, and the machine needle itself is doing the work on the wavy pattern. And then at the side I had a reasonable amount of red gingham fabric that I'd cut into binding already into 2.5-inch strips, so I just used that for the binding. So that was a nice quick win for me to get that top completed for Linus. So I didn't manage to complete a quilt top for Quilts for Care Leavers in March, but I did do some of their block of the month. It was the beads pattern. Donna Jordan has a tutorial on the beads pattern, and I've made that pattern a few times. I've been trying to use up my scrap fabric on the Quilts for Care Leavers block for the month patterns, and in March the fabric choice was floral, and I have a lot of flowery scrap fabric, so I actually made 77 blocks for Quilts for Care Leavers for their block drive in March, and I'll pop in a photo around here of a top that I managed to put together from some of the blocks that I'd made. So I didn't quite have enough to do a second top, but I managed to make one top, and I sent that off with the rest of the blocks. Also in March we have been working on the round robin for my local quilt group, which is getting bigger. I think I'm going to hang that up actually. So every other month we add another round to the quilt top using a different technique. So quick recap, we started in the centre with a block of our choice, added courthouse steps or log cabins around that. The next round was flying geese, and this month's choice, the choice for March and April, was to do some applique or applique. So I added these lemon borders, and then I've had these hexagons sitting around for a while, so I just popped the papers out the back of them. They were still on the paper. Popped the papers out the back, and then I've just done a stitch around the very close to the edge on each of these, and I've added them top and bottom. So that is my round robin completed for this stage, and the next technique will be chosen at the quilting group meeting in May. So in March we also celebrated International Quilting Day, and I made a separate video about International Quilting Day. I did a sewing day with my local quilters, and I shared a video of what I'd done during the day at that meeting, and also I spent an evening cutting out wadding for I think it was 7 quilt tops. All for Linus. I have a tub of tops that are already completed for Linus, and another tub of tops that are already completed for Quilts for Care Leavers, but I chose to take the Linus tub, and I spent the evening cutting wadding. So if you want to check my other videos, I have a video on how I put them together, and you can see the tops that I had chosen and worked on. So that was March. Moving on into April, I have been working my way through those tops that I cut the wadding for on International Quilting Day. So I have managed to complete another 3 quilts for Project Linus during the month of April, which I'm very pleased with. So first of all, we have the one behind me just now, which is a square in a square. So let's have a closer look at that one. So here we have the square in the square. It looks a little bit crumpled, but it's just because of the way it's been lying in the box. So it is 5 wide by 5 long. I think the original squares around the edges are cut at 2.5, and the ones in the middle are cut at 4.5. So then you end up with 2 2-inch finished squares bordering a 4-inch finished square. And then I've got the lemon sashing in between. This top has been sitting around for quite a while, but I got it finally put together. I've got some more of that gingham binding at the side, And for the back of this one, I chose this unicorn fabric. So hopefully you can see the rainbow unicorns there. The fabric wasn't quite wide enough, but I managed, it was very long, so I managed to piece it together in the center. And again, I've used that wavy stitch on my sewing machine. I think it's my favorite at the moment. I've used that wavy stitch and then just done I've kind of almost like framed the center boxes. So I've just done the rows right down and right across around those center boxes, and then it gives this little effect around, almost like a sashing square in the middle, although it's just one strip. So that was the first of those ones. Then this is the second of the quilts that I finished in April. It is log cabin quadrants with the rainbow sashing in between and bordering around the side. So it's 4 quarter log cabin style blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then with the rainbow fabric in the middle. These are all squares that were put together, so it's not a long strip sashing, it's all squares. And then I've used the same rainbow fabric for the binding, and the back of this is just a plain grey and white starry fabric. And again, you can see the wavy quilting quite clearly there on the background. And then that moves nicely into the third of the lines tops that I completed in April. Now this one's a bit different. This one is just a panel. It's a roadmap panel, almost like a playmat. And I quilted this by picking out some of the features. So I have followed, just in plain straight stitch, I followed the railroad round. I've followed the edges of the roads. I've picked out some of the center pieces in the middle of the roads, the bollards and the chevrons. I've gone around a lake and a little island in the middle, and that's all in plain straight stitch. I've done a little bit of the wavy stitch down the edge there just to fill that space in. And then on the field here, I've, again, you can't really see it very well, I've done the wavy stitch to give a bit of depth to the furrows. So that was relatively quick and easy to do. I've got this gorgeous construction fabric on the back, which I absolutely love. It's got construction team, it's got diggers, it's got dumper trucks and cranes and all sorts of things, saws and pliers and bollards, and I think that's going to be really fun, and that's going to be a great quilt for a young child. So that was my quilts for April. And just at the end of April, I went to a sewing day called Threads Together, which was organised by Tracy Perks of Rope and Anchor Trading Company. And it's a really lovely group. I've been to a couple of her sewing days. They are quite small, but they are really chatty and lovely, and it's a great social day as well as a great sewing day. And my project that I took with me to do my own sewing was this bag. So I bought this quilt this kit at the Farnham Maltings Quilt Fair back in January. It is a kit by Tie Veg Company, and it came with all the fabric and the wadding, the like Bosal foam to give it the support, and the instructions. I did the cutting out before I went to the sewing day, just so that I didn't get sidetracked with all the chatting, and then all I had to do was put it together, and I managed to do that during the day. Inside it's got pockets, so it has some lovely pockets which are nice and big. It's a decent size. It's not too big, it's definitely not too small, and I finished it on the Saturday at the sewing day. I managed to get it completely done at the sewing day, and that night I came home and I filled it as my handbag, and it's been in use ever since the morning after. So I love this little bag. It is gorgeous. I would probably quite happily do another one. So I'll leave the link in the comments below if I can find them. I think I tried to tag them on Instagram and I couldn't find them, but if I can find anything about them, then I will leave the details in the comments. So it has been quite a productive couple of months, and I'm really pleased with what I have managed to put together and what I've managed to achieve. So, finances. I have been trying to hold myself accountable by doing a little section on finances. So for March, well, there was a budget and I kept to my budget, but my budget was big for March because the Festival of Quilts tickets went live in March. Festival of Quilts here in the UK is, I think it's the biggest quilt exhibition in the UK. It goes over 4 days at the end of June, end of July, start of August at the Birmingham NEC. There's a whole exhibition centre. Oh, I don't know what you call them. Theatre, exhibition bit, whatever. there's a whole area full of the display quilts, and they have some creative 3D artistic elements as well. And then there's another whole arena, that's the word I'm looking for. There's another whole arena full of all the trade stalls. They have some smaller display areas where they have specific exhibitors. They'll give out like a gallery to specific exhibitors, and they run workshops and talks, and it is an amazing experience. I started off, my first ever visit to Festival of Quilts was a few years ago. We were on our way home from holiday, myself and my teenage daughters, and I decided because we were passing, I would drop in for a quick look for an hour or so. An hour doesn't cut it at all. There is so much to see and so much to do. So this year I've actually booked tickets for all 4 days. I am going to do some stewarding on one of the days. I did that last year and I really enjoyed that, interacting with the public and getting to know a bit more about some of the quilts as well. So I'm doing stewarding on one of the days. One of the days I'm going to be specifically just looking at quilts. One of the days I'm going to be specifically looking at the trade stands, and the rest of the time is going to be a bit of a mix between the galleries, and I've booked myself a few talks and a few workshops that I'm going to do and fit in across the time as well. So by far my biggest expense was Festival of Quilts. I still need to book my hotels, and my travel, but yeah. In April, I came back down to earth in April, and I didn't spend nearly as much in April. So obviously I bought the quilted jacket pattern in March as well. I got that printed, so I did that through a local established print business. So I had to pay a little bit for that. And then just some sundries. So here we go. Ta-da! I have seen so many videos and instructions and tutorials about basing your quilts using pool noodles. So I have bought 3 pool noodles, one for the backing, one for the wadding, and one for the quilt top. And I'm going to give that a go and see how it works. It has to be better than scrabbling around on the floor, putting it together, it not working, and then having to take it all apart and try it again. So I bought myself 3 pool noodles, and I also invested in a couple of cans of 505 spray. So the Roadmap quilt behind me, I had a can of 505 spray previously, which I'd never actually used. When I basted this quilt with pins, the back was so just awful. It was so wrong and creased and wrinkly, and yeah, it was a disaster. So I took the whole thing apart and I decided to try the 505 spray. Oh my goodness, it was amazing. Yeah, I immediately converted to 505 spray. So it just went together so quickly and easily, and everything could be smoothed out and corrected and adjusted, and the backing was so smooth once I'd used the spray. I did put in some quilting pins as well, just because I hadn't used the spray before and I wasn't completely trusting it, but it worked so well. Yeah, I don't think I would need to use the quilting pins again. So I was so impressed by that quilt, and I have so many other quilt tops to do. I have invested in a couple of cans of 505 spray. As well as that, I have signed up for another Threads Together Day that is run by Tracy of Rope and Anchor Trading Company. That's going to be happening at the start of June, so I have bought my ticket for that, and I think I might take along my, if I can get all the pattern pieces cut out, I might take along my quilted jacket to try and put that together at that sewing day. So that is it for March and April. Now I need to think ahead to what I'm going to do in May. So at our quilters meeting on the 13th of May, we will get told what the next round of this round robin is going to be. So for May, I'm going to get the next round on that. That is a commitment for May. And then the 7 quilts that I cut wadding for in March on International Quilters Day. So I completed one of them in March, and then I completed the other 3 of them in April. And then the last 3 are in this bag here. So in May, I am planning to get all 3 of these finished. Probably going to use some of my 505 spray, but I'm planning to get all 3 of these finished and completed in May, and then I can donate those ones in June. And then also I'm going to get my pattern pieces for my quilted jacket, try and work out what size I am, and then get my pattern pieces for my quilted jacket cut out and prepared, ready to put together in June. So that is my plan. And I think one of the things that I really benefited from was that bulk cutting on International Quilters Day, when I took all those Linus quilts and just worked them out, put them out on the floor, cut all the wadding all at the same time. That just made a huge amount of progress, because all I needed to do then, everything was ready and everything was together. I'd already cut the backing for them, for most of them, and everything was there and ready to progress. And I think that was really beneficial for me, and that might be an inspiration or a motivation for you as well, just to do all that prep in bulk, and then it's there and you can just pick one up and you're almost done. It's really easy to progress through the next stages, and then once you have done one, it's easy to progress through another. It's almost like the kind of I did an accountancy degree, so it's almost like the division of labour, that you're dividing it up and then you're doing the one technique over and over and over. So yeah, you've got your sewing machine set up for it, you've got the supplies already there and available, and it can just get progressed. So that is going to be my plan for May. So drop a comment down below with your plans, what you are hoping to achieve, or how you would tackle, if you have a lot of quilt tops to get finished, how you would tackle them, if you would do a batch group of cutting for the wadding, or if you would just do one at a time. So I think that's all for this month, and I will see you again at the start of next month. Happy quilting!